Alright, welcome listeners to a special quarantine edition of the Nerd-Vana podcast, which is really not that different from how we used to do it, isn't it, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, aren't all our quarantine podcast?
True, yeah. Although if Tyler was able to join us today, he would have to record it from his house like we used to do when he lived in Florida back then.
Yeah. Although how's that any different from now? I mean, we can still do that.
I know. Oh well, I'm just calling it quarantine edition for posterity.
Yes, if in the future we figure out, or people wonder why we're calling it quarantine, just look up, April 2020, see what's going on.
Tyler will not be joining us today. Don't worry, he's not sick. He's come down with a case of pulling extra duty at work. Yeah, because, in other words, short-staffed.
Yeah.
Like a lot of essential businesses are facing nowadays, mine included. Although I decided to take a leave of absence, finally get a vacation.
Go to San Francisco.
No. I wouldn't be able to anyway. Alright, so Ian, what is this month's movie review?
Well, as evidenced by the screen, Marvel's 2018 Venom.
Technically, Sony's with the association of Marvel Venom.
Technicalities.
Yeah, I know. No, it states right there in the opening credits. The old school comic flip book that revealed the Marvel logo. When it goes to white, then it says in the top text, in association with Marvel. I don't know, it's hilarious to me.
Now, to get the big question out of the way, the last time we saw the character Venom on screen in a movie was Spider-Man 3.
Yes, the infamous Spider-Man 3, 2007 was not a good year for Marvel.
Well, they clearly cleaned up their act in 2008 with Iron Man.
Well, okay, I guess. Now that I think about it, 2007 was mostly Fox and Sony. Because Iron Man was technically independent. That was self-funded. But yeah. So over a decade after that abysmal failure, we get now comes Venom, which has actually no connection to the Sam Raimi trilogy, and no connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Despite what Amy Pascal has said in previous interviews, Kevin Feige has pretty much said no, they're not part of it. Of course, that was in 2018. Now 2020, there's a whole new madness going around that maybe there's a possibility.
We'll see.
Okay. All right,
I can imagine Tom Hardy and who plays the new Spider-Man?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland. I can imagine those two interaction, especially with Tom Hardy's schizophrenic performance.
and well, the reason why I bring that up is because recently, I guess last week, as of recording this, it was announced that the director for Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, was going to be Sam Raimi, the director of the previous Spider-Man trilogy. And since Sony also in 2018 released Spider-Man Into the Multiverse, which and the MCU has kind of sort of hinted at or has mentioned the multiverse, and with the recent acquisition of Fox assets by Disney, which means we'll be getting Fantastic Four and X-Men in the MCU in the future, there's a lot of possibilities that Venom, at least this universe's Venom, may make an appearance in the MCU. Heck, we might even get we might actually get the previous two live-action Spider-Mans in an MCU movie to make a cameo appearance.
Oh, jeez.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Potentially, depending on how they do it.
Okay. Alright, so now, let's start the clock. 1 hour starting now. Alright, so 2018, Sony's Venom, starring Tom Hardy. Alright, Ian, what did you think of it?
Well, I saw this, maybe like spring of 2019 when I came back from Arizona. I had a blast when I first watched it. And it's just been everywhere. I keep seeing advertisements on Facebook for Venom. It's like, it's been out for a while, guys. But
yeah,
if we think about this is, I've heard some complaints that it wasn't a Spider-Man movie, and that, well, I see where they're coming from. It was never advertised that way. They never planned to make a Spider-Man movie.
No.
They specifically said in one of the trailers, the world has enough superheroes. So this is actually the first time on this channel ever. This is our first anti-hero film.
Technically, yeah. So Venom is pretty popular. He's known as an anti-hero, and depending on which version of the character you know, it's pretty much similar. It's pretty much similar all around, excluding this movie, is that Venom was originally a symbiote that bonded to Peter Parker and that became his black suit. However, because this was a living being, and well, we don't, and well, technically, Ian, would this bonding process, would this be considered, what's that word? Commensalism?
Maybe. I think it possibly would go into symbiosis. I'm not too up to date on commensalism. I have to look that up.
Well, that's where there are two parties that are bonded together, but only one party benefits.
That's parasitism.
Without harming to the host.
That's still parasitism.
Really?
I believe so.
Maybe I need the. I said with that. I could have sworn that commensalism was like parasitism without the harm though to the host.
Commensalism. Let's check it out. An association between two organisms in which one benefits and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. You seem to be correct.
Okay. Alright, but so continuing with the story is that unfortunately, I think of how it is in the comics, maybe in the TV series, is that it just doesn't work out. Like the suit kind of tortures Parker in a way, and so he kind of gets rid of it. But the symbiote finds a new host in the form of Eddie Brock, who is either angry at Spider-Man, angry at Peter Parker, whichever story that you go with, and so the symbiote Venom's hatred of being rejected from a host, and then finding a new host that has a mutual hatred of Spider-Man, that's what gives us Venom. And I remember just seeing him in coloring books. He was the one that always fascinated me, because it's like Spider-Man but not.
Yeah.
In this one, it's no, Spider-Man is not involved. The story, Spider-Man's not involved, so there is no. So the black and white, this white spider emblem on Venom's chest is completely absent. Doesn't seem to be. There's no web slinging. Acts more like a gorilla in this case. And now, on paper, that doesn't seem like a good idea. Why get rid of the dynamic that Spider-Man fans know when it comes to Venom and Spider-Man? And I can understand that. However, what the movie did was, instead of making the chemistry more about Venom and Spider-Man, more about the symbiote Venom and the host Eddie Brock, which I think is a good trade-off, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I didn't even give my opinion on the movie. Okay, okay. At first, I thought it was going to be a crap movie because it's Sony. How can they do a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man? They've screwed up Spider-Man twice. But then but seeing how it's pretty successful and audiences seem to enjoy it, I thought, okay, I'll give it a watch eventually. So I just watched it for the first time to prepare for this review, and okay, yeah, I like it. It's entertaining in a way. Do I have some complaints about it? Yeah, I do. I'm a filmmaker, well, an independent filmmaker and writer. Of course, I'm gonna have some complaints about it. But was it enjoyable? Yeah, yes, it was. Does Tom Hardy give a good performance? Yeah, yes, of course he does. Am I looking forward to a sequel? Again, yes, I am.
Although the sequel has been pushed back. As is every other freaking film.
In nicely timed coincidence, on April 21st, 2020, the sequel Venom 2 was given a title, Let There Be Carnage, and of course, there's a mid-credit scene that brings up the hosts of the alien symbiote that would later become Carnage. So, we're gonna be seeing him. Unfortunately, with that announcement came the second announcement that because of the pandemic that's been going around, that and a lot of movies had to get pushed back, including Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I was looking forward to.
You're not the only. Almost every movie's been pushed back. I would be willing to put money that Jurassic World Dominion will be pushed back.
Oh, I've no doubt about that. But I'm kind of glad I got to see Sonic before everything had to get closed down.
I think that was the last new movie that came out, or one of the last.
All right, so Ian, what did you like about Venom?
Well, one of the best things for me was the character. The character Venom had his own, in my experience, for the first time, his own personality.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that, even though I'm not a huge Marvel fan, seeing that really stuck with me because it's enjoyable to watch. It's just like, do not open that door. Who the hell is this guy?
Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm putting my hands up.
You're making us look bad. No, I am not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Why would you do that? It's just the dynamic between Tom Hardy and, well, himself, because he also voiced Venom.
And yeah, that's the one thing. That's the thing that I kind of liked about Venom is Tom Hardy's performance. He is pretty good at doing this kind of disconnection between face and body, like because before Venom there was also this other little independent movie called Upgrade, also starring Tom Hardy, and I remember seeing a trailer for that, and he's like he's supposed to get like this chip implant that's supposed to make him a good fighter, only he was I guess he didn't know about it, and then all of a sudden when guys surrounding him, then he kind of like he fights like a kung fu master of 50 years, and he's going like, what the heck is going on? How did I do that? Same thing happens here in Venom.
I think I saw a preview for that. It looked interesting.
Yeah, it is. And now we get the same thing here in Venom. And he's just really good. He's really good at making his face not match his body when he's fighting. He's good at mimicking movement that is not made by him. He's not had conscious thought of, like, I'm moving my arm right here. I'm gonna grab this lobster.
That entire sequence was hilarious. I feel like Tom Hardy had way too much fun with that entire scene.
Yes, he did. He actually improvised that going into the lobster tank.
Much better.
And I like Venom's design, even if the white spider is absent. This mass that is like gooey but fleshy and muscly. It is quite different from the Venom in the Spider-Man 3 movie, and very different from what you picture or gather from any of the previous animated series that feature Venom or Eddie Brock bonded to the symbiote. So I don't know. I just kind of like that. It just gives Venom a little more of an makes it more intimidating. To add to that very toothy grin and serpentine tongue, and those white lifeless eyes, like a shark's eyes when it rams your head, when it rams its head into something.
Oh, geez. I remember seeing the trailer for the first time. I'm like, holy shit.
And, okay, so it is entertaining, but even if it's very generic. It's simple.
It is.
It's very simple. You have a bad guy, head of a corporation, like so many other things in Spider-Man, and Iron Man, and Ant-Man, and Hawkman, and Batman, and Superman, and Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
I'm just listing off names that just don't really exist anymore, or at all.
Quarantine is getting to you, John.
Oh yeah? How about you? I think you've been in quarantine longer than I have.
Yeah, we've been shut down for almost a month now.
Okay.
I, unfortunately, can go outside because I live in the middle of nowhere. I can go for walks in the forest.
Well, that's nice. I can go outside too. I just can't go to heavy populated areas.
Can I have a symbiote, please? You need one too. That way you can go to heavily populated areas. Everyone would give you a 6-foot radius.
No, I don't need a symbiote. All I need is my scary clown mask. Alright, so anyway, the bad guy, Carlton Drake, played by a British Pakistani actor, Riz Ahmed. I'm hoping that is how you pronounce the name. Again, sorry for butchering that. And Carlton Drake, who is kind of like a lot of villains, is obsessed with improving the human race, or exploring the next territory. He is the one that kind of gathers these symbiotes from the very beginning. Apparently, he sends a rocket to space. I don't know. It's never really specified what planet or what region it was. If it's Mars, then I ain't going to Mars if we colonize it then. If I somehow wake up in the Venom universe. But anyway, so he brings in 3 symbiotes. Well, technically 4, but one escapes. In the Malaysia area. But this symbiote is Riot, and he's a big bad dude. It's like, think of like if Venom merged with Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
Oh God! That is the ugliest thing I have ever seen.
In about 6 months, he goes from Malaya, hopping from body to body, until he comes to Carlton Drake at the Life Foundation. Which I don't know why he decided to do that. Wouldn't it have just been faster to just be taken by Carlton Drake?
I don't know.
All right, so
He's much more sadistic than Venom. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he is. All right, so big bad Riot bonds with Carlton Drake, and he decides that no, I don't think I'll improve humanity anymore. I think I'll bring all the symbiotes from this planet down to from the other planet down to this one, so that they can munch and bond with however many people they please. And Venom, who was originally on board with the idea, suddenly goes that I kind of like it here.
Which, I mean, that's understandable.
I get it, yeah. And this is some of my complaints that I have, that kind of think that these are what I think might have been better choices. Venom appears like in full-bodied form at about an hour into the movie. This is close to a 2-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I kind of like the build-up because we also kind of have the voice in Eddie's head. This is kind of where the whole, Riot, hopping from body to body, taking 6 months to go where he was actually gonna be going in the first place. Probably could have just been, we could have just skipped all of that, so that we probably could have gotten like straight to Venom bonding with Eddie like very quickly. We probably could have gotten a little bit more. We could have gotten more scenes with Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And something a little more fleshed out, that instead of because in the span of like half an hour he goes from
we are going onto Carlton Drake's rocket, whether you like it or not.
And then like half an hour later it's like,
on my planet I am kind of a loser like you.
Excuse me?
Yes.
But things are different now. Here we can be so much more, and I'm getting to like it here.
I'm like, wow, that was so fast. I was kind of hoping there would be like some like build up, like some experience. Like I thought that's what that whole scene with Venom in the market scene was going to be like. That was going to be the halfway point. And that kind of whole thing. So, does it need improvements? Yes. Is it still entertaining? Yes. When Venom is around, he's freaking awesome.
Yes. And the CG is top notch.
It is in some cases, right? Because when it gets to the whole oily liquid battle thing, it is very obviously CGI. I mean, I can kind of tell that those are 3D scanned Tom Hardy and Riz Ahmed in the computer.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know. Did you have any complaints about it?
I would have preferred to see Venom fighting crime a little more. I mean, we get the one scene at the end. That's it.
Yeah. If any, actually, fighting any crime.
No, we do not eat policemen.
But yeah, I think the core of what actually makes this movie enjoyable is, of course, the chemistry between Eddie Brock and Venom. Like whether it's like a tenderly oily head speaking to him or a voice inside of his head. I mean, just the banter that they have with each other. And I love the fact that Venom really hates being called a parasite.
Parasite?
What? It's a term of endearment. How the first 15 minutes, and yes, I've actually first time watching this, I actually had to look at the time clock to see how this paces out. So in 15 minutes, Eddie Brock, respected journalist, part of news program. Gets called to interview Carlton Drake. Oh, I guess before I should have said that, has a fiance that loves him. Oh yeah, and is a lawyer. So I think makes more money than him.
More than likely.
More than likely, yeah.
And his girlfriend Anne is a lawyer covering Carlton Drake's Life Foundation's case.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where this is going.
You can see where this is going. In about 10 minutes, Eddie Brock pretty much screws himself by...
He screws over his entire life.
I know. By, let's see, invading the privacy of his fiancée, by going into her laptop, opening her email, and looking at in big red letters stamped over it, confidential legal papers about the Life Foundation. Interviews Carlton Drake, and then asks questions about dead bodies, homeless people, and kind of all of that. Gets thrown out, gets fired from his job because he does the one thing that even a seasoned reporter like him knows: go in with a source.
Yeah.
I see him stand there in the office after hearing you're fired and going, well, what the hell did you think was gonna happen, dumbass?
Yeah. I mean... So, he screws himself over. He loses that rather nice apartment, I must say.
That he was probably living in with his fiancée.
For free.
They probably were both paying for it.
Probably. Although apparently she can... Well, I don't know. Afterwards, she does date a doctor.
Yeah. And I don't know if she just moved somewhere else. I don't know the living situation in this thing.
It's not stated.
Yeah, but either way, because of this, because of what Eddie did, wife loses her job at her firm.
Dumbass.
Dumps Eddie and gives back the engagement ring.
Ouch.
And now, and so Eddie pretty much lives in what is probably the San Francisco version of the apartment Peter lived in Spider-Man 2.
More than likely.
Which is funny because, you know what's funny? It hit me when I watched it the first time. This movie takes place in San Francisco, in California. Now, okay, anyone with a limited knowledge of Spider-Man knows that Spider-Man is in New York. Venom would also be in New York. So how do you do Venom without Spider-Man? You set it in San Francisco, and you also state in the script of how Eddie Brock was run out of New York City. I was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, haha, that's how you separate it. That's how you separate the two.
So Spider-Man could very well still be in this universe.
Mm-hmm. It's never stated what Brock does for money in the 6 months since he was fired.
I don't think so, no.
Okay. That's number 2 in what could have been improved upon. Okay, so we know where we are. We know who we're supposed to focus on. I just want to know the what. Like, what do they do?
Yeah, it's been 6 months. And we know at least part of the time he's drowning his sorrows in alcohol.
And that and his living arrangement seems to be, I think, somewhere in Little China, which is not surprising. We got to appeal to China for the global box office.
That is true.
But he gets in contact with one of the scientists from the Life Foundation, saying that he was right, and then witnesses and through a series of unfortunate circumstances, he gets bonded to the symbiote, and that happened. All right, and that. Let's see, I think when I clocked it, he gets Venom at about 38 minutes into the movie.
Seems about right. The pacing is odd, to be sure.
I mean, it's kind of the pacing is a pretty good build-up, especially when it comes to the whole Venom entering into the picture. It's just that I think it's just that the whole padding of Riot having to get to hitchhike from Malaysia to San Francisco that seems to just be the Achilles heel in this. Like, we could have gotten more Venom. When you were seeing this movie for the first time, did you think that the symbiote that was hopping from body to body, did you think that was Venom?
Based on the color, no.
Really? I kind of thought it was. I thought it was Venom.
But
because that's what usually happens in these movies. That's what usually happens in the movies. Usually if a corporation wants something, and it turns out one of them is lost, usually the one that is lost is the important one that falls into the hands of our hero.
I don't know what you want me to say. Perhaps, but this is I guess this movie's trying to be different, I guess? I don't know.
Yes. Being different is okay as long as it makes sense in the end game. Riot pretty much taking the long way to get to where he was originally going to be taken at the beginning of the movie, I don't think makes sense, at least as a final, for the final result that we got.
I see your point, yeah.
I mean, if it was Riot that was one of the symbiotes, I mean, it would be a great way to actually show the sadistic, kind of show the sadistic side of him. I mean, we don't even know what the blue and yellow organisms were. But Riot, I mean, it could have immediately bonded with someone and then just like...
Oh yeah, I see your point.
Spikes coming around all over that. But, wouldn't be able to see that because PG-13.
Imagine what it... Oh, crap. The next movie said, "Let there be carnage."
Oh no, this movie's gonna... Well, that's gonna suck if they don't give it an R rating.
We're gonna see. We'll see.
We'll see.
They've got time, remember?
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're not gonna give it an R rating.
We should petition for it.
Because if they give it an R rating, then they can't show it in China. It's gonna get heavily censored. No one in China's gonna want to watch it.
Oh, China like Fallen Kingdom.
And Deadpool.
Deadpool's on a whole... There is no fourth wall with Deadpool.
No, I mean Deadpool is rated R. It's bloody, it's violent, and would not do well in China.
Yawn. Oh well.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it budget back and then some.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
Alright, so... yeah, PG-13 for an anti-hero that eats heads. Alright, okay, now... I kind of I kind of subscribe more to the idea that what you don't see is actually a lot more scarier than what you actually do see.
Absolutely.
However, even if you do make Venom R-rated, you don't have to show every head getting chomped and blood spurting out of the neck. You could just do it once.
Yeah.
Alright, so when Eddie does get the symbiote, it causes him a lot of problems. Voice in his head, fever, uncontrollable muscle spasms, and very vulnerable to high sound frequencies.
Not to mention eating everything.
Yeah, even things that are unsanitary.
Old raw chicken in the trash. Oh, ew.
I don't think it was raw. It was just rotting. It was rotting. It was old, and wow, they actually had to film a close-up of of that stuff being glomped on. But oh my god, shoot.
I feel like everybody who made this movie was having a great time.
I think so, yeah. Oh my god. I mean, I'm seeing that, I'm disgusted, but at the same time I'm going, great acting.
Absolutely. He turns feral.
Mm-hmm.
Someone put Tom Hardy in a cage.
Anyway, Drake's corporation knows that he has the symbiote that was stolen from him, so sends SWAT guys after him. It doesn't work out. No, all that kind of thing. If you don't, it's a pretty basic movie. If you haven't really seen it, just go watch it. I mean, I don't. Eddie meets with Annie, tries to help him with get rid of Venom. They separate. The Drake's goons find him, take him back. Venom bonds to a dog. Then Anne, which gives a lot of us one of the best 15 seconds ever. Anyway, Venom goes back to Eddie. They fight Drake that's bonded with Riot. They blow up the rockets, killing Riot and Drake along with it. So no other symbiotes can come to Earth. And okay, here's the other thing that kind of bothers me. It seemed very clear that Venom burned up in that explosion. And then literally 2 minutes next, it's like, nope, still there. I'm still here. How? Did a little bit of him survive?
That's what I'm guessing.
Is that all? Is that really all it takes?
I guess. Like a little bit survives, and then he just
like a starfish.
I guess, like a starfish. I don't know. There's not too much on the biology of these creatures that are explained.
Not in the movie, but maybe in the comics.
Someone who's read a lot of the comics, let us know, please.
Yes. But anyway, in one of the rare moments of actual logic, Eddie and Anne don't get back together. Instead, they kind of vow to do their best to try to win her back. I loved Venom. He's like the id in psychology. Freudian psychology. Yes. He's just like,
Miss Anne, you belong with us.
Us?
And then we get the scene from the trailer that we all love. Venom threatens a thug by eating his face, and we get the whole turd in the wind line, and that's it. Movie's over.
You forgot the appearance of one important person.
Yes, Stan Lee's last physical filmed cameo before he died in 2018. Oh man. And
it's hard to believe it's been almost 2 years.
I know, yeah. Listen, I know. And like in a lot of Stan Lee cameos, he seems to just be omnipotent about this. Like he knows that Eddie and Venom are that Eddie has Venom, because he says, "Don't you give up on her, both of you."
And it's like, Stan Lee, you wizard.
I know. Oh man, one of my biggest regrets is that I just decided not to take a sick leave from work, a spontaneous sick leave to just travel to Colorado because my sister was there for a training, going to a Comic-Con in Denver, where not only was Stan Lee there, but also Jason David Frank, Tommy the Green Ranger there.
Now you'll never get to do it.
I will never get to shake hands with Stan Lee. I will never get him to sign my copy of Avengers, the first Avengers movie.
Aw, poor John. Someone type Pat Head in the comment for John.
Not Pat Head, Pat Shoulder.
Pat Shoulder, that works.
Pat Head is patronizing.
Oh well. But, and can we think of anything else about the movie? It's straightforward. It's fun.
It's straightforward. I mean, there's a lot of Easter eggs. I kind of like, there's some Easter eggs to it. Like, I like how in one instance, when Venom is actually lit in a way where one side is blue and another side is red, kind of, and again, which is actually normal nowadays, of having complementary colors in cinema. But this is how I saw him in the animated series, the late 90s, early 2000s Spider-Man animated series. And so that was a nice little Easter egg for me. Let's see. She-Venom.
And there's that. Not too sure how I feel about that, but whatever.
I'm not ashamed to it. When I first saw that, I went, ho 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 ho.
Wait, what if Venom just took the dog to go after Eddie?
Well, then the movie would be over. Like, a lot sooner.
Not that much sooner.
I think Venom knew that the dog would not be enough to actually get back to Eddie. Small, short legs. Probably has a helicopter human.
Evidently not, seeing as how he got the dog away.
No,
although
okay.
when we saw Venom come out of the vent and just put a tendril up near the dog, we were like, oh shit, and then he grabbed the dog.
I was kind of going like, oh no, not the dog! But yeah, okay, yes, She-Venom was a little bit of fan service, but 15 seconds compared to however many minutes of pretty much staring at Venom. I mean, come on, is it's like he's wearing a skin tight scuba suit. If there's girls in there, if there are girls in there, it's the same situation as Terminator, but instead of Arnold butt, it's Venom butt. There are plans of actually bringing She-Venom into the mix, like making her actually more of a secondary character if she seems popular enough, even giving her own spin-off. Which
we'll see. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I'm all for that. I'm all for a She-Venom movie just to get more, action, more female superhero movies that hopefully are well written.
Oh dear.
Okay. They have to be very well written, and as long as they do that, give her a well written character, I say there's no shame in a little fan service.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the producers do.
Although to add to that, I mean, who was really kissing Eddie? Was it her or Venom?
Moving on.
Oh, come on. There's no need to be. Come on, you don't need to be uncomfortable with it.
I know. Comedic effect, John. Comedic effect. I don't know. But
I can edit that out.
No, it's fine. But
okay, so let's see. Yeah, there's not much. I mean, I kind of would have liked it if it was a little more fleshed out, like maybe have it instead of doing the whole body hopping thing, just I mean, because that just pads this thing. It just pads this thing out. I mean, you could have all four symbiotes there. Venom could still be, at the Life Foundation, that kind of thing. Eddie could still get him. Just the only difference is that Riot's there, so that we can get to Venom faster, and actually and then get that moment in between where Venom goes from I am going to help my species invade this planet to I kind of like it here.
Yeah.
Because even if you use the whole argument that he saw the San Francisco at nighttime and saw how beautiful it was and saw the world through Eddie's eyes, that caused him to change his mind. That still was like right there. That was instant. I mean, I've seen values change. I've seen values change faster in Star Wars. And Anakin Skywalker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who?
The guy who becomes Darth Vader.
Who's that?
Uh-huh. Pat me! Pat me? Mother, why did you leave me? Why did you get me to the Jedi on Tatooine?
Padme! Anyway,
action scenes were pretty well done. Visual effects, okay. Aside from some obvious keying with when Tom Hardy on a motorcycle, you can easily tell the difference between who's the stuntman and who's Tom Hardy. You never really actually see Tom Hardy on the motorcycle when you see a wide shot. but when it's kind of like a close-up, you just see the handlebars. It's him, and it's quite obvious he's in front of a green screen.
Yeah, but who cares? That entire sequence was cool.
It was cool, yeah. I'll admit it was cool. Oh, yeah, we got more friends.
Do something! He sticks to a lamppost and swings around.
Oh no, oh god, I'm gonna die.
You're not going to die.
Whoa, that was pretty cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
So yeah, it is pretty entertaining. I think the other thing they could have added into, because they could have added in that Venom, or at least add a little more to what Venom meant by "I can heal you," instead of just, because it just comes across like he was just trying to save his own ass.
He very well could be.
Mm-hmm.
Although we did see the healing factor multiple times. So,
true. From what I did do some research on Venom, and this was actually years ago. What I did find out about the symbiote Venom from the comics, the original comics, is that the reason why Eddie didn't suffer any kind of negative side effects to being bonded, the symbiotes, they actually feed on adrenaline. Now our good buddy Eddie, well, he was actually, in the comics, he was actually a sick man. See, he actually had cancer in his adrenal glands. So they were producing more adrenaline than the body could actually take. And so our good buddy Venom here, well, he was eating up that excess adrenaline.
And in this one, I guess, let's see, Eddie's afraid of height, which would kick in adrenaline. He rides a motorcycle, which could kick in as well.
It's not really established that he is. Well, yeah, I can actually see your point. Yeah, I mean, fuel in the tank. Yes. For the symbiote, but it's never really established that if Eddie is sick or dying or not. It's the only thing we get is that the symbiote does seem to eat the organs, causing them to atrophy. I think the doctor said that his heart has atrophied.
Yes.
Which that probably, I don't know what an atrophied heart looks like, but I can imagine it's probably worse than a diseased lung from years of smoking.
Do you know what atrophy is?
Withered muscles.
Yeah, it's basically where something gets smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So his heart is smaller now?
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
Very bad. Very bad, very bad. Evolution has made it so that our heart is the right size. Too big is bad, too small is bad.
Yes. Although, I love what Venom requests at the end for food.
So what tickles your pickle tonight, big guy?
Tater tot and chocolate.
I saw that scene on YouTube, and the one comment that stuck with me was how Venom sounds like a broke college student.
Well,
not wrong there. We don't. I can attest to that. As college students, we don't have a lot of money for highly nutritious, healthy food.
I think it would have been even funnier if he said ramen.
Well, anyway, I think we are now actually approaching the 1 hour mark. At least on my timer. So now it's time. Now it's time for our final thoughts. Ian,
while Venom is overall a fairly simple movie, it's fun and it's not afraid to do things differently. It has great chemistry between Tom Hardy and, well, himself. And he gives a wonderful performance. All of the acting was overall fairly well done. As far as, I think this might be one of my favorite Marvel movies so far. Not that I've seen many, but regardless. I love the character Venom. I think he has a lot of potential in the future. Part of me would love to see like a small animated series set after, like just a couple episodes of an animated series set after this movie in the same universe, of just like a buddy comedy between Venom and Eddie. I want to see that.
All right. As for me, rating actually.
Ratings. 7.5 out of 10. Not bad. Enjoyable.
Okay. As for me, I do have to agree. Venom, 2018 Venom is overall enjoyable. It is generic in some respects, but it has some ideas that kind of keep it from being too generic. There are some failings with the plot, especially with Venom's change in attitude or change in value with that. But overall, the performances from all the actors, from Tom Hardy, from Anne Weaving to Riz Ahmed, we're all good. I mean, the actor who played Carlton Drake, Reese, was pretty charismatic and chill. I mean, he has the charismatic part of the psychopath down, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if that Abraham and Isaac speech is anything to go by.
Yeah.
And so I can forgive the plot, because really the core is the characters, especially just Venom and Eddie. So yeah, I'd give this a 7 out of 10.
I recommend it.
Yeah,
Go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, here's hoping that the sequel is actually a lot more structurally sound, a lot more well written, but still has the chemistry.
Yeah.
All right. So that concludes this month's Nerd-Vana podcast. Join us next month, and I don't know, Ian. What exactly sounds good for next month?
Well, how about The Predator?
Ooh, wait, when you say The Predator, do you mean...
Oh, sorry, remove the just Predator.
Predator, yes! Yep, so join us next month, everyone. Stay indoors, stay safe, wear a mask when you absolutely have to, and together we can beat this thing.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Yep, see you guys.